for 2020.
Right, how to turn the possible worst year of your life into the best year of your life. When I was thinking of a message to share with you all today, I thought this was the most relevant and valuable message to share, considering the climate that we are all currently living in. So I'm here to tell you that whilst everybody else is having winter, you could be having the time of your life using this one simple mindset tip that I'm going to share with you today. My name is Shwe-Paul. I am a success mindset and purpose coach, and I run a 3-month one-on-one coaching program where I help my clients make the necessary mindset shift in order to help them propel towards success, get unstuck, take action towards their goals and desires, as well as overcome any setback, challenge, or obstacle that comes their way. That last part is what I'm going to teach you today. A quick history of my background. So I'm originally from Burma, otherwise known as Myanmar, and it's a military-run country, which, they don't really like democracy. So at the time, when I was younger, there was a lot of violence from the military because people were protesting for democracy. I grew up in extreme poverty, and my parents only had 30 cents to their name when they started their marriage. So my parents knew what kind of life awaited their daughters if they stayed. So they built up the courage to escape as refugees. And there was danger around every corner, but that's a story for another time. Long story short, we made it safely to the Thai refugee camps, and after 3 years, we were accepted to live in New Zealand. And here I am. I studied at AUT and graduated with my Bachelor of Business as an alumni student, and making my parents very proud, which is a memory that I will always cherish. Now, the major life event in my life where I learnt what I needed to in order to overcome any obstacle came in 2016, when my beautiful, vibrant, and loving mother was diagnosed with cancer and was only given 3 months left to live. It was the hardest thing that I've ever been through, watching her go through that, and it broke me to see her have to go through that. But my mother was a fighter. She said her time was not done yet, and she started defying all the odds. They gave her 3 months left to live, but she started within that time sharing her message of hope and encouragement to anyone who would listen, on stages, at churches, to people in the streets. And she, instead of living for 3 months, lived for 9 months and inspired every inch of my being with her courage. Now, this was me before my mom passed away from cancer. I looked a little different back then. On the outside, I looked happy and successful, having achieved the career goals and financial goals I had set for myself. But on the inside, I was unhealthy, unfulfilled, and unhappy, having given up on my big, bold dreams of starting a business to make a positive impact on millions of lives, to settle for a corporate cookie cutter role. Now, there's nothing wrong with working in a corporate role. I learned a lot from that. But it was time for me to move on, but I was too afraid for so many years. Losing my mom was a pivotal point in my own personal transformation because it woke me up to the fact that we all have a limited amount of time on this planet, and I became absolutely relentless in the pursuit of living my life to the fullest for the both of us. Now, one mindset shift that I recognized in myself within that time was in the questions that I asked myself whenever I was confronted with a challenge, setback, or obstacle. To illustrate that, I'd like to share the events of 2020 with you in my life. So, if all these things happened to you this year, would you be telling me you've had a great year or a not so great year? My wedding venue decided to cancel 10 days before the wedding day. COVID hit whilst we were on honeymoon. We had nowhere to stay whilst being in forced self-isolation. We were stuck on an island with no Wi-Fi for 6 weeks, which is like a modern day nightmare. My husband got made redundant from his role. I had a life-changing nerve injury where the physio basically said that, if this doesn't get better, I may never be able to work in an office again. And I fell down some stairs as a cherry on top and twisted my ankle, and then my role was also made redundant as well. So we were financially unstable and the future seemed uncertain. This is a list of questions my old self would ask myself if these things happened to me. Why me? Why now? Why do bad things always happen? It's so unfair. How could this happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? How did this happen? What else could go wrong? Why would God do this? So, these questions are focusing your attention and energy towards the problem, right? And you'll basically get stuck in a negative black hole, basically, and just in a continuous loop. But why do so many of us ask ourselves these questions when something seemingly bad happens in our lives? Now, put your hands up if you have an inkling of an idea of whether this year would, be an optimistic year for me or a pretty lousy year if I ask myself these questions over and over again. Can you imagine what type of year that I'm going to have? Yeah, not so good, right? So this is a list of questions that I learned to ask myself after having learnt the secret of how to overcome any obstacle in 2016 from my mum. Because I realized that these are the questions that she asked herself when confronted with a terminal illness to turn things around. Things like, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I expand from this? What good can come out of this? What are my strengths? How can I use this to my advantage? Who can help me resolve this issue? These questions are focusing your attention and energy towards the solution, right? Who reckons you're going to be more likely to find a solution to your problems asking this list of questions rather than the old one? Definitely more likely. So here is the result of my year after asking myself the more empowering list of questions. We actually had a dream wedding after being featured in a news article about what had happened to us from the previous venue, and we had some really lovely venues reach out and gave us a much better venue, which we were very happy with. And instead of panicking and booking our flights back to our countries like everybody else was, we decided to focus on the positives of being on honeymoon on the verge of a global pandemic. Not that we knew about it at the time, but because there weren't many tourists around, all the major tourist attractions were basically empty. So we got to enjoy lovely, empty beaches and not have to fight the masses. We had nowhere to stay during forced self-isolation, so my husband decided to post it up on social media, and we found a cousin who knew an auntie who had a badge on Waiheke, not a terrible place to spend lockdown, and we had no Wi-Fi whilst on the island, but using the same list of questions, we utilised our time by learning how to film, edit, and post YouTube videos, as well as learnt how to invest in stocks and purchased our very first stocks on the island. My husband practically got a brand new job in the same week he was made redundant using the same set of questions. I was paid out 10 weeks redundancy pay, so we were fine financially, and I'm fully recovered from my nerve injury, not having to take any of the antidepressants that were prescribed to me. Just a lot of cold showers, that's why that symbol's there. But I would take cold showers over any drug any day, and funnily enough, I actually have started enjoying them, which I never thought I'd say those words. And you know what? There's actually a power in gaining positive momentum, because I started seeing opportunities and also trusting that no matter what came my way, I could take anything on. At the beginning of this year, I had given up my dreams of ever owning a property because we were focusing too much on the Auckland market. But my husband won a cash flow masterclass ticket where we actually had our eyes opened to the right strategies and opportunities on how to basically build a real estate empire. So we invested in a mentor, and as of last month, we purchased our very first investment property, whoop whoop, and we are currently on the hunt for our second. I also found some good in my nerve injury, using that extra time to reflect on my life calling, and started my life coaching business. Now, I'm not sharing these things with you to impress you. I'm sharing these things with you to express to you what's possible in your lives, just using one simple yet powerful mindset tip. The quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. So I encourage you to ask yourself a more empowering set of questions going forward. You will be surprised with your ability to overcome obstacles and challenges that come your way. By building up a habit of asking yourself a more empowering set of questions that are more solutions focused, Whilst everybody else is having winter, you could be having the time of your life. Thank you.